Hello everybody, welcome back to From Rhythm to Algorithm part something. We continue on with our derivation. Last time we finished up, or we derived an important question, right? We're trying to find a question to ask to answer what is sensorality. Sensorality is a word, it's the noun or all-encompassing concept of sensation. All of these different words that start with SE, sense being the most, I guess, the base one. I think it's the base one, but sense, sexuality, sensuality, consciousness, science, sentience. It's a word family all built around this base word sense. And so what we're doing is we're trying to find the right question to ask to answer what is sensorality. And we've shown and demonstrated this fundamental dichotomy, this fundamental stability of two, up or down, left or right, forward or backward, yin or yang, good or bad, positive, negative. Literally the word individual, from which all language has been articulated, you can't even break it down past two components, right? The word individuality contains duality. And so we have shown the consistency of language. Even though we have discrete objects, we have consistency, and we have completeness because of discreteness. And so we're trying to find the right question to ask to axiomatize sensorality. And to do so, we are going to show a direct iteration of letters to produce the new word form for the next axiom. Because all systems are open, there's going to be a lot more future events, and we're going to need new words to describe those future events. But last time I said something that I wanted to clarify a little bit more on, is I said that knowledge is sufficiently complete. And so the easiest way to kind of see that, and what I kind of like trailed off, but I was distracted, because I'm still the victim of crime, but kind of the easiest way, because you need new words for new discoveries, but you're not going to have big, like genuine construction of language. It's going to be forms of language that already exist, and we just have to iterate it in the fashion and manner in which I've demonstrated. And so the easiest way to see that is with some examples. If we take some criminals, I mean mathematicians, Pastursky, she's a 32-year-old physicist. Somebody else here is a 32-year-old physicist, but actually do real work. But point being is, like, you can see, like, if you ask them what is their research, you can see, like, they will introduce it with a title, with a name, and they'll say something to the effect of Pastursky. She calls her research celestial holography. So what we've demonstrated is that words already have meaning. And so when you say celestial, of the stars, holography, like a hologram, right? Each word has independent, unique meaning, and when they're used together, it generates some sort of intuition. And we all have the same sort of conceptualization. When you see a basketball, a table, or think of a word function, we all have the same quote-unquote imagery. It's not really imagery, but conceptualization is consistent. And so celestial holography, and then you get some intuition with it, but it's not like you're creating word salad. Additionally, we have our lovely other mathematician we've referenced in this series, Emily Real, who has no problem getting on front of a stage and saying, let's do a new method of mathematical proofing, which is such a huge jump, and it's because they're aware of my work. But her big buzzwords, word salad for her research is infinity groups. And so I just watched one of those goofy ass things from Wired.com or Wired YouTube channel where it's like, this expert explains this concept at 5 different levels of difficulty. Total nonsense BS. But point being is, again, the word infinity has meaning and the word group has meaning. And so, again, we can solve all of Emily Real's research right now. What is infinity? Infinity is literally the physical, right? The known universe is not the entire universe. The physical intuition of that discrepancy is infinity. There's always something past a distance that you can measure. That's what infinity is. And so when you have there's an infinite amount of numbers between 1 and 2, and then trivially you can have infinitely many more numbers between 1 and 3 as opposed to just 1 and 2. But those sets are finite. And so when you have an infinite amount of numbers in a bounded sense, you have infinitesimality. And that's the generalized noun form of an infinitesimal. Because we have this fundamental limit that contains two-dimensional components. We even have a numerical limit within that conceptual limit. You can't break it down past two-dimensional components for anything because we live in three dimensions. Every measurement that has ever been articulated by any individual, not even dependent on the human species, has been made in three dimensions. So the biggest thing for Emily's research is nobody has articulated what infinitesimality is. And so there's only one infinity, and what they're talking about when she's saying infinity groups is really infinitesimality groups. So that's kind of her whole research right there. There's no other intuition there. For Pastersky or Petersky, celestial holography, stars and holograms. And then another one, and again, these are all quote unquote physicists, they're really just criminals, but around my age. And so another one is Peter Schultz out of Germany. He has perfectoid spaces. And so that's what I'm saying is like, don't you see a perfectoid? Like, it's not a fundamental ontological word. It's not work, function, set, category, power, energy. And so you can see this word salad, and it's like you said, you're not going to like generate, like, it's all of the solution, all of the resolution exists within the syllability, how you construct these different forms of words. Right, go, going, gone, went, right? They're all just different forms of like movement. And so we just have to connect, because of the stability of two, we have to connect the word forms that are set, that are complete, that will not change. Because everything in three dimensions, just like our physical systems, which is, language is a physical system, it's open, you need new words to describe new experiences. And so that's the easiest way to see that knowledge is sufficiently complete, but the proofing, right, there's always gonna be new words, and that generates from slang, 6-7, stuff like that. But you're not going to kind of like invent, new words are invented, new words do emerge, obviously. What I'm trying to say is it's like the celestial holography, the infinity groups, perfectoid spaces. You're not doing anything new. You're going to iterate the fundamental ontological words. You have to go through this process to generate anything. And so that's an easy way to see what I'm saying by knowledge is sufficiently complete. And because again, behind closed doors, fundamental physics has been completely solved for not a long time, but at least like, I don't know exactly when secret science team has gotten this stuff done, but fundamental physics has at least been solved for like 30 years, like at the bare minimum. So probably closer to like 50, 60. And so that stuff's just not even public whatsoever. But then last time we finished up, again, we generated this question, what is the theme of mathematics? Right? And that carries new logical intuition, but we've just iterated the same linguistical forms. Mathematics is thematics, very literally, and thematics is based on theme. And so what is the theme of mathematics linguistically, meaning the letters, the representation of word, is kind of self-contained, but it's logically open, right? What is it? I'm pretty sure it's proof, right? You're establishing a fact. And so we're trying to get that kind of self-contained question to generate and completely axiomatize sensorality. What is a seem, right? Theme, seem. It seems to me, if somebody says, you tell somebody, hey man, we're gonna go on a hike today and we're gonna go this route. It seems to me that's not the right way. What is somebody saying when they say seem, right? And it's like, it seems to me it's likely that. Seem is likely. A seam is a crease. Obviously the spelling changes. Sensorality is themality. Sensorality is the mality, right? Now we just separated the and mality. Mality is malicious. Sensorality limits maliciousness. Sensorality limits malignantality. Damn, you ignorant. Nah, damn, you malignant. Nice. Dormant is benign. Malignant is active. Obviously, again, this forcing function, the species as a whole generates the resolutions to language. And we have this two concepts forced together, benign and malignant, obviously in terms of oncology, cancer study. And so what is benign? Benign is dormant. What is malignant? Malignant is active. Activality is not benign. Now here's another big intuitive thing that I definitely realized today. In the same way we have rights, and it's definitely definitively not spelled correctly. Right? You have a hypocrite, that's spelled with an R-I-T-E. You have rights, I have a constitutional right, in the same way you have a rite of passage. The opposite of left is my right hand. If I want to go, somebody is correct, they are right. And so, but we've identified again this spelling again, and I didn't even like finish it, but like I don't know, 50 episodes ago, I forget the exact analogy, but this is to that, what that is to this, and I said what light is to right, right is to light. So what if when I sit here and say this is a light bulb right here, woo, light, which again this L word is illegal, but what is the opposite of mass? Right? If I go buy a beer, I buy a Budweiser, and then I buy a Bud Light. Shout out to Dylan Mulvaney. That dude still cracked me up. That whole thing fucking made me laugh. but right, it's an L-I-T-E. Right? The opposite of mass is light. Something is heavy, something is light. So what if this thing right here, which is a form of radiation, is spelled L-I-T-E and not L-I-G-H-T? Because at this point in the derivation, it's absolutely definitively certain that right, I have a constitutional right, I have humanitarian rights, which are all violated. The correct spelling for that is R-I-T-E. So I think we just have the conceptualization, again, as a species, that the thing, your light bulb, is spelled L-I-T-E, B-U-L-B, not L-I-G-H-T. But again, because all this is one big proof. Like this is all going to be resolved with one single demonstration of completeness. And so I'm pretty sure intuitively that is what we have to do. But to do so, to prove that, we have to show the linguistics. Well, the complete, where does the word light, where do the letters come from, or where do they go in completeness? And so what is light, L-I-G-H-T? And we can say lights are proportional to rights, right? If you go to a ceremonial rite, a wedding, a funeral, are there a lot of candles, right? Candle light. Lights are proportional to rights. Mass is stuff. Things are stuff. For example, Brad stuffed Jen with his thing. That might paint you some great imagery, something you can think about. Happiness is delightful. And now we can kind of analyze language, right? Light, what is L-I-G-H-T? Right? Now we have delight. That's well defined. It's happiness. It is pleasant. Delightful is pleasant. So the opposite, at least in a connotation sense, the opposite of delightful is negative. Is light, L-I-G-H-T, negative? No, it doesn't have any polarity. That's where negativity and positivity come from. But so you see what we're doing. We're in this whole derivation, we're at part like 235. But is light negative? So we're trying to generate this very simple question again to axiomatize sensorality. But intuitively, that is definitely, we got to do, that was a big step for sure. That your light bulb is spelled L-I-T-E, probably. And you spell rights, R-I-T-E, definitely. But it's all the same proof, so it's most likely L-I-T-E as well. Delightful is pleasant. Resent is not pleasant, right? If somebody is resentful, it's not delightful. And see, now we've worked that scent in there from sensorality. Is brilliant an English word? Kind of, it sounds like we're going on a tangent, but again, it's all just one proof by logical exhaustion. Every bit of analysis we can throw at it, we will. Why did I say that? Right, brilliant, that's probably how you pronounce it. But if you rush through the syllability, the pronunciation, brilliant is how you kind of like slur through it if you slander the I. But doesn't that sound like an A in Spanish? Brilliant, like you get that Y sound in there. It's like, why does that happen? Why is that going on? And it just popped up to me. And like I said, it's very clear when novel intuition throughout this derivation, which I do all day. It's not like this stuff starts or stops with the camera on me. But it's enough intuition to write down. Malo es evil, right? In Spanish or in French, mal, Spanish malo, right? It means evil most literally, not bad. Sensorality limits evilality. Sensorality is intuitivity. Intuitivity. But again, that VIT is still important because it comes from vibration, right? The VI prefixing thing, that's where that's coming from. And it's always, again, vibrational information theory is how I introduce this proofing, because vibration is the base, rhythm is the range, and we're using that to define and iterate what an algorithm is. Hence, from rhythm to algorithm. Vibration is part of this fundamental stability of two part. What is a prefix to a preposition? Right? Preposition literally prepositions, but if something is on or under or above, right, it's kind of like directional. A prefix is, it definitely functions as negation, right? You have all these negating prefixes. But what is the relationship in general? Just posing the question. Additionally, are there more, or is there more big prefixes than small prefixes or prepositions? What I mean is, right, that's super collider, it is a mega, it is ultra, it is, you see what I'm saying? And then like small, it is miniature, it is microscopic, it is micro, right? Is there more or less prefixes of big or small? Because there should be some sort of uniqueness to chronology for things stabilizing. Just posing questions where there's any bit of open logic left. Vision is seen, seem, seen. Conceptualization envisions, visions. Sensorality envisions. So that is what I have for you today. I'm trying to, again, this whole proof will be contained in a single statement. I mean, we're getting there, hopefully. But again, my constitutional rights continue to be violated. It is profound and extensive torture. I live every minute of every day under profound stress. I truly could not have imagined or envisioned a worse life for myself. But I'm the victim of crime. There's nothing I can do. There's nowhere I can go, and there's no one I can call. I continue to beg for someone to show me the slightest amount of human dignity and respect. If you don't respect me, respect mathematical history. If you don't respect mathematical history, understand that the law will matter at some point. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.